Geneva, and we are very happy to welcome you here today. This is the first panel discussion of the week. We will be having a new one every day, new topics and new guests. And today we're going to talk about corporate social responsibility and see how watchmaking can contribute to overcome resources scarcity and make things change, have a good impact. To answer these questions, I will have some guests that I will introduce to you in a few seconds. So let's start right now. So here we are with my first guest on set, and I'm very happy to have one. And this is you, Chopard co-CEO, Karl-Friedrich Scheufele. I'm very happy to have you here with me on set. You're representing a family business that has been a pioneer in CSR with responsible sourcing and biodiversity partnerships, to cite only a few examples. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you
I'm very
doing?
happy to be here with you.
Well, it's the same for me.
Yes.
So let's meet the other guests today. The second guest today is co-founder of Ethiwork. This is Mrs. Céline Dassonville. And Ethiwork is an impact studio which aims to accelerate the positive impact of transition of the economy by becoming a driver of social and environmental change. Mrs. Dassonville, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited to listen to our guest.
And you're connected from Paris, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We will be hearing you in a few seconds. Let's move on to our next guest. And I think we're heading to Milan. We'll see. We'll confirm to us. We are meeting now Panerai CEO, Mr. Jean-Marc Pontroué. Panerai has put its strengths on three main axes in CSR. We'll see which ones. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. A pleasure to see you. A pleasure to be part of this also very first story for us for this digital exercise of the week. And yes, we are from Milan.
And you are connected from Milan, right?
We have a live studio here and we have our creative studio in Milan.
Perfect. So we're traveling today. It's great. Let's move on to our next guest. This is Karl F. Bucherer CEO, Mr. Sascha Moeri. He's calling from Lucerne. And Sascha, you have positioned the Swiss watch manufacturer as a strong global premium brand with a motto saying luxury with purpose. You will explain to us in a few seconds what does that mean for you. Good afternoon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and thank you for organizing this amazing panel.
Okay, and last but not least, this is our worldwide famous extreme explorer and adventurer of the day. This is Mr. Mike Horn. You will bring us your vision about the state of the planet and share your key experience gathered during your multiple expeditions. Good afternoon, Mike. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. No, thank you very much for the invitation. I think it's amazing to see the industry investing in the future of the planet that's changing so rapidly. So it's an honor to be on this panel with all of you amazing people.
Well, that's great that we have you. And I have a first question for you, Mike. I would like to know where you are.
I can't tell you. I'll have to kill you if I tell you.
Oh, really? Okay, you're playing with our nerves.
No, keep it a secret.
Okay, well, thank you for being with us anyway. Okay, so we are all set. Sorry, what did you say?
I said, no, we keep it a secret, but I'm with you, and that's important.
I don't know if that's going to work. We'll see. We'll do our best. Okay, so we're all set. We have all the guests, but I have to say something before we start with this panel discussion. We are expecting your questions. We are expecting your comments because we would like to answer to all of these comments and questions at the end of this panel discussion. So how are you going to do that? Well, you just can send them in through the Q&A button that is on your screen. You can see it. You just send your comment, you send your question, we get them here, and we will answer to most of them at the end of this session. Who's going to do that? Who's going to deal with your question? Well, these are the two persons who are with me on the set today. I would like to introduce you to Pascal Rafsoo and Benjamin Tessel. Good afternoon.
Hello, Mélanie. Hello, Mélanie.
You feeling ready?
Great to be here.
So please don't hesitate to send your questions and comments. We're here for that, and we have a fruitful discussion afterwards.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. So see you afterward, gentlemen. Let's start right now with this debate. We don't want to lose more time. We have many things to talk about. And I would like to start again with you, Mike Horan, because I would like you to do a state of the planet, if I can say so. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been seeing and how is our planet right now?
You know, I've been a professional explorer supported by Panerai for the last 22 years. And in 22 years of exploration, being to some of the highest summits in the world, swimming down the Amazon River, being to the South Pole and the North Pole, circumnavigating the world 27 times with a sailing boat. I've seen changes that not a lot of people can see because I go to remote places. These changes happen very rapidly, especially in the polar regions. And my last expedition that I did, the first ever winter crossing of the North Pole on skis, leaving from Alaska, skiing via the North Pole all the way back to Svalbard, made me a little bit concerned. And that was in 2019 and the beginning of 2020, so only 1 year ago. And in 2006, when I did the first ever winter expedition from Russia to the North Pole, in 2006, the ice that I measured on the North Pole was 2 meters 50 thick. In 2019, I measured only 8 centimeters of ice on the North Pole. So there's more than 2 meters and 40 centimeters of ice that has disappeared in only 14 or 15 years. And the acceleration of the global changes that we actually experiencing are much more visual in the polar regions, as well as up in the glaciers in Europe and up into the Himalayas, the Karakoram mountain ranges. And then that is only speaking about ice melting. But when we speak about deforestation, about deserts growing bigger, then this topic can go on for hours, because those changes are mostly happening where we don't have civilization.
And that's actually a real problem, because then if we don't see, we don't realize, what you're saying is that it's really concerning, right?
I think that the concern is much bigger than we want to believe it is. And that's why the industry, should play a big part in the way that they approach sustainability, in the way that they actually can play a massive role in making the world a better place today. So, we all speak about your corporate social responsibility, but I don't really like that word. I think it's more a corporate social investment. It's investing in our planet so that we can live in harmony with nature for the future of everybody on this planet. And that's why approaching Panerai and Jean-Marc with an idea of just using a part of my boat that I sailed 27 times around the world with to make a watch out of it, I basically gave him a problem. And I like giving problems to people, and a lot of people then would say, okay, it's possible, or no, it's too much work, or no, it's not really what we do. But the investment comes the moment that you spend money in recycling or giving a second life to metals that we have available that's just being thrown away and recreated today. So using what we have is important for the future of our planet.
How would you say watchmaking industry could really play a role? You gave an example right now that was concrete, but in general, how should they play a role?
Well, I think Jean-Marc should answer that, and we've got to keep these answers to the specialists, because as an explorer, I just want to make my playground a better environment so that I can give to my daughters a heritage that I'm proud of, and not to give them a problem. So that's where we need the industry, and I think the industry can give those answers to you.
Yeah, so what I think as well, this is a real mindset story, and of course industry have to play a role, but we do all have to play a role. So let's turn now to the guest that I have here on set with me, and I will look at you because you're just next to me, and I would like to have your feeling about CSR, since we know that you are a pioneer in the field. How did you start thinking one day, way ahead before the other ones, well, this is important? What made the trigger?
Well, when we set out to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Chopard back in 2010, but preparations went on before, of course, with my sister, Caroline, we are a family company, you have to know. You probably know.
I do.
We decided that it was really time to look a bit deeper into the sourcing of, in particular, at that time, it was our stones, diamonds, colored stones. And we also were looking at a partnership with WWF because Caroline wanted to present a high jewelry collection with all made of animals, in fact 150 animals. But then they raised the question, said, what are you actually doing for the planet? And what
Which
are
was
you
a
actually,
good question.
Are you part of the Responsible Jewelry Council? And this is what triggered our actions at that time. And well, from there on, we went to different stages, and we embarked on what we call the journey, because it's still a journey and it's probably not ending. But the important point was there was a trigger, and we embarked. As a family company, we thought it's very important to make the point, but not only to act, but also we realized that we could communicate something. Because as a luxury a company active in luxury goods, you have this possibility of, you have a certain visibility, and with the visibility comes the responsibility, I think, as well.
So this is a message that you were actually sending.
And this was partly the message, and then the actions that followed, in particular our involvement with Fair Mine Gold. We were really the first company to embark on a relatively small program using only Fair Mine Gold for certain parts of our collections.
Right.
Because again, somebody raised the question, it was Livia Firth from EcoH, she raised the question, what are you doing about sourcing gold? Where does your gold come from? And we really scratched our heads in a way and said, yes, we have to find out. And
so it's all started in 2015, and I think in 2018.
This was 2013, 15.
Your whole production was Fair Mine, right?
And 2018, the entire production is ethical gold, and we still support small individual mines who work, who actually work on Fair Mine Gold.
Yeah.
So we continue this action, but obviously for our production, it was not quite enough. But we also kicked off, we helped kick off the Better Gold initiative in Switzerland, which allowed us to actually source only ethical gold. And this was only possible because we refine our own gold. We have an in-house refinery, and so it's a closed circle, if you wish.
circular economy, as we say, in a way.
Well, but this is just a few things that we did, and
we'll see a bit, and we'll go a bit deeper
but
into
I agree,
what
the
you're
clock
doing.
is ticking.
Yeah, it's true. It's true,
And it's ticking fast.
True as well. That's why I'm going to turn myself now in direction to Mr. Pontroué. I know you are a bit newer in the field of CSR with your brand, so can you tell us your vision of CSR? How do you see it by Panerai?
Well, I strongly believe that this is a very important story that we just started. It's a journey, and like Mike was saying, he probably doesn't know it because I was telling him a couple of minutes ago before we start this broadcast that the initiative of CSR on being much more environment friendly came from him and came from exactly what he has depicted, meaning giving us this shaft of his boat which we started to build watches. And at that time, it was 3 years ago, and we had 40% of the watches we did for him, which was recycled. And of course, when we started this initiative, we say that internally, why not approaching the 100%? And instead of making it only a one shot, let's make it a business model, because the mentalities have evolved a lot the last couple of years, probably influenced also by other industries, influenced by Mike on one side, but also other industries. And when you see today the initiative that all the car industries are taking, like a brand like Nespresso that I've got the chance to meet, thanks to Mike also, that they have decided to make their business model environment friendly in 2022. So all these initiatives taken by others have influenced us a lot to take also, or be one of the brands to take the lead also on that story. And at Panerai, 2021 is the very first year of a long journey, and we want to alert as many people as possible. We have a movie right now which is saying we cannot say we didn't know, because we are all aware, and there is enough evidence in the world that the deterioration has started. And like Mr. Scheufele is saying, the countdown has started and goes quick. So we better make sure that our industry also is starting to move in that direction.
So what we see at Panerai, it's actually you saw the other industries, and that was actually the trigger for you thinking, okay, we also have to do something. What was your mindset actually? How did you think before?
Well, we started to work on products. In fact, we have 3 areas on which we work. It's transportation. It's about all our network of boutiques on manufacture, how to make them more environment friendly. And it's, of course, on product development. On product development, we show for the very first time at this Watches and Wonders the first concept watch, which is close to 100% recycled, and we have another program which is 60% recycled. And in the future, all the Panerai watches will have a certain share of recycled elements. And the other aspect of what is important is that we want to make it an open ecosystem, meaning that we have been working with 10 suppliers, among which 5 are new to the watch industry. So we have qualified them. We have lost something like 2 years to make it happen. And we make it open because what I was mentioning recently is that we want that as many others are copying us. And we don't say that very often in the watch industry, as you can imagine, but I would love to be copied tomorrow. And I invite Mr. Scheufele and Mr. Moeri to visit us, or that we even come to see them, to tell them how we did it and with which suppliers, so that we are as many to apply the same rules. And I'm very open to be influenced also by them if they have good practice. I think we have to exchange ourselves good practice, because as Mr. Scheufele was mentioning, the countdown has started and it goes very quick.
Yeah, so this is really a question of interaction in this specific field. You have to work all together. I would like now to turn myself to Karl F. Bucherer, Sascha, Moeri. What is your vision of corporate social responsibility?
First of all, Jean-Marc, invitation accepted. You know, CSR for Karl F. Bucherer is a self-conception. We started in 2013 to support the Manta Trust Foundation, which is based in London, UK. And it's an amazing foundation. I don't know if you have seen the Manta race, those lovely big, great animals with a fantastic brain. They face a lot of problems. It's pollution, it's overfishing, and we wanted to support and help, and not just giving money. That's why we started already in 2013 just to do real projects. For example, this year we have a floating research station. Last year we had equipped 2 mantas with sensor. One was called Karl, the other one was called Friedrich. So they could analyze how they breathe, how they eat, where they sleep, and that was before not possible. And I think for us it's really key and important to support those projects. Of course, also Bucherer, for example, in our scuba tanks, we have recycled straps from PET bottles from the ocean. But I think it's much more. Each one of us can do a lot, but we need to do it all together. This is what I'm loving, what was Jean-Marc was saying. We need to come together as an industry. We can change things if we do it, because we are leader in materials, technology, innovations. That's what we do. Bucherer is around for 133 years. It was founded back in 1888, and it's still a family-owned company. And we have values and long-term visions. And I think it's very key and important that we get together here on this.
So I'm asking the question now. It's actually really something really beautiful to hear, but do you think it's actually makeable? Can you do that? Work all together, hands in hands, for the whole industry? I asked you the question, and maybe I will ask Mrs. Dassonville her point of view.
Well, I think the watch industry has come together, for example, to re-enhance or to reorganize Watches and Wonders.
Right.
For example. It was quite a feat, but I think even though we are only here digitally, next year hopefully we'll be there in reality. And just as this worked, I think we can also work on technology platforms or exchanging suppliers, anything that really can enhance our claim. Mm-hmm. And I believe that, we recently introduced a new watch line called Alpine Eagle, which is a watch line that we discontinued some time ago. It was called St. Moritz, anyway. 40 years later, now it reappeared. And these watches are made of 70% recycled steel. Now, I'll be very happy if someone else picks this idea up.
Okay.
It's not something that we think we should exclusively own. We worked on this with a supplier, and we came up with this innovation together. But I think this innovation has to be open to
shared.
Has to be shared.
Yeah.
And well, hopefully we will manage to do that. That's all I can say at this point.
We can just wait and see how we say, and we would be really interesting to see how it is in a few years ahead. So I'm turning to you, Mrs. Dassonville. What is your point of view when you hear all this goodwill? Do you think it's something that is feasible? Do you see that in other industries, and does that work?
I would say when I'm listening to the voices that have been expressing themselves on sustainability, I'm very positive. I would say that if we look at other industries, such as the fashion industry, there was a coalition that was launched with the Fashion Pact that was targeting some issues such as ocean depollutions, reductions of CO2 emissions to avoid climate change, and plastic reduction within the oceans and biodiversity protections. It was a coalition, and I think that the industry on some of the topics need to act together. We've been talking about different things that are exciting because they are making things possible that were not maybe possible in the past. Watchmaking brands are responsible for their sourcing. In regard of sourcing, there is two strategies that have been expressed. Either you use limited resources that are coming from the earth, such as gold, and if you do it, you have to do it properly. So giving back to the community and making sure that you reduce inequality and the people that extract do it properly without inducing pollutions. There is another way to work on that. It's working on circular economy. So not using limited resources, but making sure that the resources that you will be using are coming from recycled process. So we do have a very positive view if we look at the watchmaking industry, because, for example, gold is really a good materials to be recycled without any depletions. So steels and other metal materials have got, I would say, great opportunity to be within a circular approach. I would say that there are still some questions that need to be raised together in regards of precious stones, because supply chains are very complex. It's about mine. On mine, I've got a negative impact on the environment, and I think that there should be a coalition to respond those tough challenges, to bring both transparency in the supply chain and traceability for this raw material. The thing that I see as well that is very positive is that the watchmaking brands that we got here, they're not only looking at how they can source responsibly, but they're looking at how they can contribute positively to the challenges of the current society, where we are fighting not, I would say, for the mankind sustainability. And I'm seeing very positive contributions that will help the research to progress so that the oceans and the climate I would say deregulation is getting palliated, and I'm seeing a positive energy in tackling this CSR issue. One thing that make me, I wouldn't say excited, but I think that's make the momentum, the time, very interesting, is that these challenges are opportunity to reassess the value of the brand, to reassess the value of the watchmaking industry. And you said at some point, time is ticking. This is time now. The watch is the measurement of the time, and it's got a responsibility to make this time last long. And last thing that I wanted to say as well, that I'm seeing with a very positive look, is that more and more this watch are being transmitted, and they've got a second life as well. And there is new technologies such as blockchain with Ariane or Aura that are bringing new solutions so that the ownership of the watch, it's not a single ownership, but it's a story of multiple ownership. And that's make this product not only be crafted to be responsible, but to have a multiple life. So I'm seeing that from a very positive standpoint.
I think you gave a really good example. Actually, we all know it, but it's true. This is the measure of time with a watch. So I would like now to go deeper into the initiatives you are working on in your various brands to come out with something that will really help and make things change. Let's move now to Sascha, Moeri, back to you. Can you tell us a little bit more about the initiatives you're working on?
Absolutely, as always mentioned, partnership with Manta Trust is very important to us. With each watch we sell in the Pontroué Scuba Deck collection, you contribute to support this foundation and to real projects. But for me, contribution, that's one thing, what we can do. We can do much more. We can raise awareness. And for me, it was very important as, yes, unfortunately, I have to travel a lot. So, and I'm also very often in China, Greater China region, and we wanted to do and bring awareness to the people. And we found a great solution with our local and global brand ambassador, Li Bingbing. She's an artist and a designer and a movie star over there. She has her own charity. This charity is called Love. And with this charity, she is supporting to bring awareness to local people, to endangered species. And I think that's also something where we can help. Contribution is one thing, materials, everything, I love that. But we also can bring awareness to a lot of people which maybe are not even aware about the problems we face. What Mike Horn was explaining at the beginning, he sees much more than many of the people do. So let's bring also awareness to people they don't have seen or they don't know yet.
Thank you for sharing the initiatives you're working on. And as we understand clearly, there is a message to bring to people and to send, as you were saying just before. I would like to go back to Jean-Marc Pontroué now and see what you are working on. Which initiatives are important for you right now?
Well, I will take you 3 initiatives we have taken at Panerai. We work on 3 locations, our design center here in Milan. We have our headquarters in Geneva, and we have our manufacturer in Neuchâtel. Before the COVID crisis, we reduced the entire site strip by 90% by just what was called at that time the video conference. Now we have experienced, and I think this is probably the only positive side of the crisis we have been through, that we can still continue to drive our business on reducing significantly the number of trips we are doing. Another initiative we have taken, the cancellation of all the service guides to our watches. You can now load all the service guides associated to Panerai watches on your computer. And that is going to save us 20 tons of paper per year, plus the transportation freight that are also polluting the planet. And finally, another initiative is our partnership with Unesco that we start now, which we are going to support financially to fight against pollution in the oceans. We are going to be in touch with more than 100 schools and universities in the world to train the new generation, because the story and the challenge we have in our world today is how we train the new generation to be aware that this is a major threat for the future of the planet, and that starts by education.
I would like to come back to something that you actually said, Mr. Pontroué, when you started at Panerai in 2018. You said you wanted to launch a disruptive innovation per year. You were talking about watches, of course. But I would like to know if it's also something that it is possible with CSR measures. Can you launch a new one each year?
Well, what we start this year in 2021 with this watch, which is at 98.6% recycled, is the beginning. You will have in the future each and every new Panerai watches associated with a share of recyclability, and you will know it when you will acquire one of our products. So a little bit like a car today, when you know how much gas you are consuming when you buy a car for 100 kilometers. We don't have this type of norms. And I think that in the watch industry, we will have to create in the future these common norms. So at Panerai, we have decided that the weight of recycled elements will be the norms for us, but I'm ready to share with any other operators in the watch industry to create these new norms. So yes, 2021 is the first year, but I can already tell you that next year we will have an extended assortment with recycled products.
Well, that's great news. Thank you very much. I'm going back to you, Mr. Scheufele. These norms, do you think it's something that is happening now in the watchmaking industry?
I think looking at, in particular, the younger generation, millennials or even younger, today they simply expect this to be part of their brand's approach. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's wise to wait for norms and introduction of regulations to act. So, I mean, when we started with our gold initiative inside the company, it was a big change for everyone, and there was a lot of explanation to be done. But today our teams are proud. They're just really proud that we are a company that has put this in front of one of our focus points, right, and values. So I think the importance is to keep on going and to continue one's journey and not to leave out even minor things which may not be so important. But I mean, there's a whole world in packaging. Mm-hmm. We are just reviewing, and I don't pretend that we are very good at that for the moment, of how we package our goods and how they are presented. And I mean, the materials that we use are all absolutely fine, but I think they're too heavy and so on and so forth. there's a lot to be done in many, many aspects of our businesses.
It's a global thinking.
It's a global approach, a 360-degree approach. It's about, what kind of materials do we use to build our boutiques?
Right.
We are presently reviewing that as well, because obviously with 50 boutiques and renovations going on and so on, there's a lot that we can do there. And our buildings. We renovated our manufacture in Fleurier, and we are up to the highest possible standard, although the building is 100 years old. So where there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly.
And I think Mike Hall knows that more than anyone else. I admire his courage, of course, and his vision.
Right.
And I think that's what counts, really.
We were talking, and you were talking actually just before about customers, and of course they are really important because they are the ones you are selling your watches to.
Yes.
So I found out these data, to say so. It comes out the 2015 Cone Communications and Ubiquity Global CSR study, and it shows that 91% of global consumers expect business to operate responsibly and to address social and environmental issues. And another data is 84% say that they seek out responsible products wherever possible. So we really understand that actually the customer is actually the one who decides. What do you think about this at Bucherer?
Absolutely. I think I fully agree with Mr. Scheufele. This is a standpoint. It's an attitude where you have with your people and employees. And it was in the Bucherer group always the case. We were always upfront on this. Working many, many years very close also with the Red Cross. We sponsor and support a lot of projects, and I think to wait for norms, that's absolutely the wrong way. You need to be a leader in those kind of things and a role model, and that's why this is crucial and very important to us. For example, what we are doing, we're creating beautiful timepieces, but we work also with jewelry and diamonds. Just also put pressure on your suppliers. I think that's key, and all of us will agree that in our industry, we share some of the suppliers, that there is a certain circle, we know each other. Let's also push the pressure back on those people we get the products from. And I think that's super important. This is all what we do, and we want to have only certified suppliers. And I think this is a standpoint of an attitude of the company.
What kind of feedback do you get from customers?
They love it. For example, our last edition, which was the recycled Pontroué Scuba Tech, and where we can explain all the history, how it is made with recycled PET bottles. We use, for example, 30 bottles for one strap. And they just love it, but they expect this also from us. It's not like, wow, this is a huge added value. No, this is what Bucherer stands for, what Karl F. Bucherer stands for. The customer, the consumer can expect this from us.
At Panerai, I'm sure that you also have this kind of relationship with your customers. What do they tell you? What do they ask for?
Well, we have our own retail network with our own stores. We have all the social network, and as all the members here were saying, we have a lot of the new generation which will not understand that we don't do it. So we don't have anybody who is entering our stores and ask for recycled products. They just expect us, and especially a brand like us, where we have been very exposed to oceans from the very beginning of our history, they expect us to have also this feel-good factor when they buy our products. And it impacts all the 740 people of our organization. Each of us, in our way of behaving, we will have to reconsider the way. What Mike is very often saying, it will be the responsibility of the 7 billion of inhabitants in the world to make it happen. Alone in the watch industry, we are a drop in the ocean. But if we are, thanks to the share of voice we have, on all together, that's why this all together dimension is so important. We can contribute to make the changes.
I would like to get back to you, Mike Horn, because I know that you're talking a lot with the young generation, and I would like to know, what is your point of view? What are they telling you? What do they want? And how can you share that with us?
First of all, we've got to understand that, you know, the consumer or the younger generation, if they have too many options, they're going to choose the option that obviously suits them the best without actually having the environment or the future of the planet in their mind. They might think it, but there's no action actually doing it. Working with Panerai since 2001, we started a youth educational project called Pangea. Any young adult in the world could apply, financed by Panerai, to go through a 2-week training course in Switzerland, being educated in the way of sustainability, of being able to communicate, of being able to create content, and to become a world environmental ambassador in their country. So Panerai in 2008 supported an initiative, a global initiative around the world. And this global initiative trained 200 of the world's influencers in between the age of 15 to 21 years old. And my responsibility was to take these young influencers, this younger generation, the future of our planet, to remote places to show them the natural beauty of the planet. So we built a boat. We sailed to the South Pole. We sailed to the North Pole. We sailed up the Amazon River. We sailed to the Sahara Desert. We circumnavigated all the continents in the world. So I showed them the beauty. And then I showed them how the human being on Earth actually had an influence on this natural resource. So you've got intact beauty, and then you see the impact of the human being. And then on our vessel, we had scientists. So we know the planet is changing. Science is important, but it's not an action. There's very little actions out there. I've been home, sleeping in my own bed, 30 days in 5 years. I've been out in nature for most of the days. So I don't see a lot of actions being taken. If we support the WWF, or we support Unesco, or we support any organization, we have to be careful where we invest our money in, that the money is more in an action than a cause. A cause is something great. Awareness is something great. And we followed by 62 million young people around the world, where the call is for action. So we've created 120 environmental projects around the world. So Panerai, since 2001, have planted 6 million trees in the Amazon. We've reconstructed coral in the Sula Seas. We have active beach cleanups around the world 5 times a year. And that is what initiative we're doing without actually communicating it. So the younger generation can become the leaders, the guys that will make the decision of eventually what they will buy. So recycling has always been in the mind of people inferior quality. So you create something, you destroy it, and then you recreate something else. So in the mind of all the young people, recycling means that it is an inferior quality to something new. But that is not at all true. The quality of the product recycled must be better to be able to draw the attention of the younger consumer. And we've worked with younger people in Asia, in North America, South America, Africa, Australasia, all around the world together. And they have one common goal. The common goal is to make the world a better place. If you take the options away, if you've got enough money to buy a Ferrari, you don't care how much it pollutes. You've got enough money and you've got the right to own it. And that's great. And that's amazing for the industry. But if you put that Ferrari only as a hydrogen or electric vehicle, the same money would be spent and invested in the future of our planet. And that is what the younger generation wants. They want to move away from our old way of thinking. If we can't adapt straight away, and the only option is an option that is recycled that they can buy, they will invest in it. And that is, unfortunately, the future of our planet. If you want to keep on supplying products that have a high carbon footprint or impact on our environment, you can, but it's no longer going to be bought because those options must slowly disappear. And action is something that we need to invest in, all of us. And as we can see, Chopard or Panerai or whoever invests in the future of our planet today drive their project by an action. So just to finish off, we created
to finish, Mike.
watches. Yeah. So by creating these watches, you take the client out to nature to show them the impact, for them to be educated, and then they will invest in the future of our planet.
Well, thank you very much, Mike Horn, for sharing with us. Of course, there is so much more to say. I've seen you nodded and you wanted to say something. The problem is we are running out of time. I also had questions that I didn't have time to ask, but this is the way it is. This is already the end of this panel discussion, but not the end of the session, because we have now the Q&A session, and I would like Pascal, Rafsoo, to come close to me and to bring the questions, the tendencies, the things that have made you reacting. What did we get today, Pascal?
Yes, we had a lot of reaction indeed from all around the world. Seems to be a very important topic that people want to hear about, but their remark, I mean, overall, we tried to summarize these remarks, that they really are keen on a true CSR approach and not greenwashing.
Exactly.
A lot of discussions and remarks about watch manuals and boxes and packaging that are not needed anymore, or could they be reused for something else and not just thrown away?
That's what you were saying, actually, right, Mr. Scheufele, upcycling.
Yes. A lot of reactions on animal leathers as well. This is a quite important topic that comes back and back. I can give you a quote from Alexander. We must make sure that these activities are not only for marketing purposes and just for a nice storytelling. Real sustainability goes further. Reduce the footprint. Stop making huge luxury packaging which nobody wants. I don't see these efforts. Please prove me wrong. So it's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, should we ask? Should we ask to one of our guests? Do you want to answer, Mr. Scheufele?
Okay.
It's not an easy one, I agree.
But I think Alexander was perfectly right in saying that, because we still have a lot of homework to do, still have a lot of challenges to look at. I mentioned the packaging before. I'm not happy with what we do today. And it's a journey, but we have to speed up, probably.
Yeah, that's definitely what came up. Do we have maybe a reaction from Panerai?
Tell you, we already have started the story at Panerai with recycled packaging, and today we have close to 30% of our packaging which are already 100% recycled.
Maybe another question, Pascal?
Yes, another topic that's interesting and coming back again and again is transparency. And this is, of course, being compliant means more transparency. It's a key component of a true CSR approach. How is it applicable in an industry known for its secrecy?
Right, that's a good question. So let's ask this question to Mr. Moeri, maybe.
of it. You need to be transparent. You need to show your value chains, how you source your products. I think that's all what it's about. You can have still secrecy in innovation, in the movement, in a minute repeater, in a tourbillon, where you can bring something, technology, completely new and different from your competitors. But in the sourcing of materials, everything, you should not hide. Be transparent. For example, I just saw recently, yesterday, the day before, the company Hirsch, which are very strong on leather bracelets. They have so great, amazing products. They look like nature products, but they are made on a very good way, and not from alligator strap, not calf strap, not snakes. So, but the look and feel is like those, and I think that's the way we need to go. Check out Hirsch, what they're doing. They came out just the last few days, and Nicolas, the son of the family, he's doing a great job, and that's the direction. And being transparent. I mean, if the customer doesn't want to buy it, then okay. But you can be fully transparent and say, listen, that's the way we're going. We, for example, we also stopped all those snake straps. It's gone. We don't want to have this anymore.
So you actually need to communicate about it, right?
Well, in order for your customers to pick it up.
Go ahead, Mr. Scheufele, and I come back to you, Mr. Moeri, sorry.
No, in order for your customers to pick up the idea, you have to communicate about it, of course. And show as Mr. Moeri said, show the difference or no difference between a strap that was made in a better way than the old alligator strap, which is really no longer indicated.
Wanted. Yes, exactly. Mr. Moeri, you want to react?
No, it's Mr. Scheufele.
No, you agree. I think you agree, right? We got it right.
Yes, I agree.
Perfect. Another question or comment, maybe, Pascal?
Yes, in the same vein, the example of these supplier transparency is a good start, but can we expect more? Are there other initiatives in that regard?
Can we turn to Panerai, maybe Mr. Pontroué?
Exposed brands in terms of visible messages on all what we are doing in terms of communication. So today, with the world of social media in which we are, everything we are doing is more and more transparent. And the fact that we would like to make our initiative this year with an open ecosystem shows clearly that we are open to other competitors to visit us on take actions on what we have been doing so that they don't lose the 2 years we have been losing. Or of course, we open our books. We open our books on the way we do it, the price we pay, the type of suppliers with which we are, on the protocol of building our watches. So I think it's difficult to be more transparent than opening to all the industry what we are doing.
Yeah. Just to go even further, another question, interesting. Do you foresee a coalition between watchmaking maisons, well, we touched that briefly, to tackle together climate change on the model of the Fashion Pact?
Okay. That's not an easy one as well. Can you give us your point of view, Mr. Scheufele?
Well, I think we as a family company would be open to such an initiative, but it always takes more than one to dance.
Yeah, for sure.
And
so maybe that's a message you're sending right now.
It's good way go, make some progress.
Yeah, sure. Send in your messages if you want to get connected. We'll do the work. Something else, Pascal.
Yes, since business first goal is still growth, how is this really compatible with the sustainable approach? Otherwise, it is just greenwashing.
Exactly.
A lot of concerns about greenwashing and just being a pretext to, actually going back to the marketing approach.
Exactly. Let's get back to Bucherer, to Mr. Moeri. Can we get your point of view?
Clearly, it is not. It is not, and that's a big advantage of being a family business. Since 3 generations, it's not always growth. It's sustainable growth. That's the key. And I'm really lucky and privileged. I became CEO in 2010 of this lovely company, having an owner who owns 100% of the shares by himself and can make the decisions. And always acts value-based, long-term oriented, and also sustainable. And I think this is really a key, and we are not just looking for growth, only sustainable growth. And that's really what I love about Bucherer. It's not just me doing this, the company is doing this since 133 years. So, yeah.
Maybe one thing.
No,
Mr. Scheufele, you want to react?
growth.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Just one thing that I think is important. I think growth does not exclude, or should not be excluded, because growth also triggers innovation. And we all spoke about innovation in different fields that brought us to actually improve our products and to make them more sustainable. But we need this innovation.
Right.
And in order to be able to innovate, we all need a certain sustainable growth. I think this should still be an aim for a company, not over the top, but I think it's important.
Right. I would like maybe just to get back a few minutes to Céline Dassonville. With everything that you've heard now, can you give us maybe some words? They will be almost the end words. Can we hear you about everything, actually, that we heard now?
It's a very tough job to summarize this very rich discussion, but I think that there's a couple of points that we should take in mind. This is a journey. So this is not the destination. And for this journey to be impactful, it's calling for coalitions. For the claim in terms of sustainability, it requests to have maybe a common ground to assess what is really sustainable or not. And currently, if we look at the challenges of rolling out CSR strategies, the measurements, whether it's in regard of social or environmental impact, is really tough. And I would call for a coalition to work on these objective measurements. We talk about animal straps, I would say animal leather, and there is new material, but there is always a question, because sometimes if we look at vegan alternative, they might be using a lot of petrol products, and at the end of the day, they might not be lasting as long as others. So there is no question that animal breedings need to be respectful of the animal, and it needs to be a regenerative way. But there is question as well about fashion, because sometimes something is becoming thought as being sustainable, but it is not, in fact. So I go back to a very final point, but I think it's maybe the most important. If we want to have a real impact, we need to be educated, and we need to have everyone within the watchmaking industry that understand the challenges and that act, whether it's at the packaging point, whether it's at the financial point, whether it's at the creative point, to be sustainable. And as Mike said, is it an investment? And it's not just about the product. It's as well, where do we stand for humanity? How we advocate for those challenges. And I think that we've got all the positive energy with the watchmaking, the watchmaking industry and the Watches and Wonder to conduct these challenges. So I would call for not stopping this discussion and just to be the beginning of a long journey where we craft things with an impact.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Dassonville. This is actually a really positive start. The journey keeps on going. Do you have some more words you wanted to share?
Well, I think we really covered the most.
And that was wide.
Yes, it was wide. It can be, the whole day, but we don't have the whole day.
Exactly. We would have loved to talk so much more, but this is actually it for now. So I would like to thank all of you for being with us today, Mr. Scheufele for being on set with me.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure shared. And for the other one connected with us, I would like to thank Mr. Pontroué, Mr. Moeri, Mrs. Dassonville, Mr. Horn. Thank you for sharing your point of views. Thank you for your positivities. We have understood. Call to action, no more words, action, acting, or education. These are the keywords. And I would like to thank you, Pascal, and as well Benjamin, for treating all the questions. Sure. Thank you for watching us today for this first panel discussion. This is only only the first one, so we'll meet again tomorrow at 12:15 for a new panel discussion with new guests from the watchmaking industry. We will be talking about distribution. 1 year into the pandemic, what is durably changing? That is, well, an interesting question. I'm sure it's going to be really vivid. So be sure to tune in tomorrow at 12:15 and we'll meet again. See you. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.